Buenas noches, don Gerardo.
Hola, José.
Me gusta conocer, obviamente, las valoraciones de este partido, sobre todo en ese gol, el minuto 95, ¿no? Que Luis Suárez no había tenido un servicio bueno toda la noche, pero uno imagina que para eso está, ¿no? Para aprovechar las pocas que tiene. Y segundo, rápidamente, si nos puede actualizar sobre la situación de Lionel Messi, que lo vimos que estuvo recibiendo alguna asistencia en el primer tiempo. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, creo que el partido nosotros lo pusimos en riesgo en los dos comienzos, en el comienzo del primer tiempo, en el comienzo del segundo tiempo. Hay 10 o 15 minutos en cada tiempo que nos pudieron haber costado el partido y que creo que durante una hora, como mínimo, controlamos muy bien, circulamos bien la pelota, tuvimos situaciones de gol. Pero es cierto también que pudimos estar a los 7-8 minutos del segundo tiempo 3-0 abajo. Me quedo también con el hecho de que tanto en Los Ángeles como esta noche el equipo en tiempo de descuento logra el resultado, no decae, sigue la búsqueda. Y bueno, creo que esta noche tuvimos nuestro premio porque habíamos hecho también méritos para no salir derrotados. Y en el respecto a Leo, terminó bien el partido, cansado, fatiga en los posteriores, es algo lógico, por eso los masajes, pero está bien.
We'll move on to Michelle Kaufman. Michelle, ¿nos oyes?
Sí, te oigo, gracias. Tata, dos preguntas también. Una pregunta, si tú me puedes decir qué tú sentiste cuando la bola entró en el net de Suárez de la cabeza, que en ese momento qué tú estabas pensando. Y el segundo es si nos puedes decir de Leo Campana, que está lesionado, qué pasó con él. Gracias.
Bueno, Leo tuvo un traumatismo en la pierna izquierda el día de ayer, en el último entrenamiento, y lamentablemente no pudo ser de la partida, no pudo estar a disposición, así que por eso no fue al banco de suplentes. Bueno, a ver, el gol, lo primero que queríamos es no desordenarnos. Lo que habíamos hablado con los jugadores en la charla es entender que este era un partido de 180 minutos, que no había que poner en riesgo en solo 90 el resultado. Nosotros teníamos que ir en búsqueda primero del empate cuando ellos iban 1-0 adelante, después en búsqueda de acortar el marcador cuando ellos iban 2-0 adelante, pero sin desordenarnos, sabiendo que hay 90 minutos más para jugar en casa. Y me parece que lo hicimos bien, lo hicimos con tranquilidad, lo hicimos con paciencia, lo hicimos circulando la pelota y tuvimos un premio a esa insistencia, así que nos deja bien parado de cara al segundo partido o a los segundos 90 minutos, que van a ser tan duros como el de hoy y como los otros partidos que hemos jugado con Nashville. Siempre han sido partidos duros, parejos. Ellos es un equipo muy intenso y bueno, esperamos lo mismo, pero la tranquilidad de que la búsqueda fue correcta, no fue una búsqueda desordenada, no fue una búsqueda que hizo que el rival tuviera espacios para poder contragolpear. Lo neutralizamos bastante bien, salvo, bueno, como digo, ¿no?, los primeros minutos del primer tiempo, los primeros minutos del segundo tiempo, donde el equipo ahí sí puso en riesgo el resultado.
Seguimos con Fernando Petrocelli. Fernando, ¿nos escuchas?
¿Ustedes me escuchan?
Sí, ya.
Perfecto. Profesor, buenas noches. Gusto saludarle.
Bueno,
dos consultas. La primera, ¿qué valoración hace del partido de Fede Redondo? Que, bueno, estaba debutando el día de hoy. Y la segunda, ¿qué atribuye ese comienzo lento en los dos primeros tiempos que usted nos explicaba y que evidentemente los afectó bastante en el desarrollo del partido? Gracias.
Bueno, yo creo que Fede jugó un partido correcto, fue muy prolijo con la pelota, nos dio intensidad en la mitad de la cancha, fue buena ayuda en los inicios al lado de Sergio, y además también se comprometió en algún momento en tareas más ofensivas. Me parece que para ser el primer partido y encima en esta Copa que tan importante es, el partido de él fue bueno, fue correcto. No me acuerdo la otra pregunta, Fernando, perdón.
Sí, no,
los comienzos, bueno.
Exacto.
Sí, yo creo que ellos entraron más decididos que nosotros. Probablemente a lo mejor nosotros entendíamos que desde el comienzo íbamos a poder controlar el partido circulando bien la pelota, pero a lo mejor no lo hicimos con la intensidad que merecía el partido, con la intensidad que merecía el rival, y nosotros ya sabemos que tenemos grandes chances de poder tener buenos encuentros si el control del partido es nuestro, pero si primeramente igualamos la intensidad de los rivales. Y yo creo que en esos 10-15 minutos de cada tiempo nosotros entramos con una intensidad por debajo de lo que el rival tenía y por debajo de lo que el rival ameritaba.
Seguimos con Claudio aquí en la conferencia de prensa.
Profesor,
Sí.
Claudio Villalobos de Nashville Total Sports. Dos preguntas. Nos decía usted antes del juego que una de las cosas que antes le preocupó de lo que hizo Nashville fue aquellos espacios que dejaban Mokhtar y Zorich. ¿Qué es lo que le queda preocupando de lo que Nashville hizo hoy para el próximo partido? Y segundo, da la impresión, no sé, quiero su opinión aquí, si el fútbol, digamos, más sudamericano que usted implementa en su equipo es el claro contraste contra equipos como Nashville y por eso se ven estos partidos.
Bueno, sí, claramente las propuestas son diferentes, todas valiosas, todas respetables y todas con la ambición de ganar. Nosotros no solamente desde el lugar de nuestra procedencia, sino también desde el lugar, desde los jugadores que tenemos, aspiramos a jugar de esta manera porque entendemos que es la que corresponde para los jugadores que tenemos. Y claro, a lo mejor el contraste que se da indudablemente hace este tipo de partido, y sobre todo cuando nuestra búsqueda es constante y el rival empieza a sacar ventaja en el resultado. Me da la sensación de que el partido, para la gente que vino a la cancha, independientemente de si un equipo remontó o no, o el resultado final, fue un lindo partido con mucha intensidad. Y la otra... bueno, a ver, yo creo que los goles de hoy fueron diferentes a la preocupación que teníamos en función al partido de la final pasada. El primer gol fue un poco falta de decisión para ir a quitar la pelota, delanteros que están de espalda, y también hay ahí en el medio un rebote fortuito que hace que la jugada termine decantando por el lado vacío nuestro, ¿no? Por el lado de la derecha. El segundo gol habría que revisar si achicamos de manera adecuada. Creo que hay una mala decisión en nuestra salida cuando tenemos la pérdida de pelota, pero después un golazo, la clavó en el ángulo y con la pierna inhábil. Así que difícil eso.
Seguimos con el caballero de azul por detrás.
Profesor, buenas noches. Ernesto para Palco Extremo by Extrema Tennessee. Hubo un momento en que el equipo de Nashville no le prestó el balón y sentíamos que su equipo se sentía incómodo. ¿A qué atribuye esa sensación de no poder hilvanar una jugada seguida en el contacto del juego?
A ver, yo creo que en líneas generales, en cuanto a control de juego, el nuestro fue bastante continuo y durante mucho tiempo. Es probable que los rivales también juegan y tienen buena circulación y haya existido algún momento donde nosotros tuvimos que retroceder porque no podíamos recuperar la pelota, pero fueron momentos aislados. Me parece que no fue la característica esencial del juego de hoy.
Concluimos con Diego.
Gerardo, Diego Monroy para ESPN. Arrancaste con 3 en el fondo, eso primero sí se debe a la falta de un lateral derecho natural, como con la salida de Yedlin y la ausencia de Alba, y después, ¿por qué apostaste al primer cambio recién faltando 10 minutos?
Sí, entendimos que presumíamos que Nashville podía jugar, volver a su esquema habitual de 3 medias punta y un punta. Si jugaba finalmente quien fue el autor de 2 goles, es un jugador profundo y desequilibrante por izquierda. En cualquier caso, nosotros íbamos a improvisar con un lateral derecho, sea un central o sea un volante, y nos parecía que era imprudente establecer un 1 contra 1 con un jugador muy desequilibrante y otro que naturalmente no es lateral derecho. Entonces nos decidimos por la línea de 5. Los cambios, porque yo creo que en este tipo de partidos la búsqueda tiene que ser inteligente, desde adentro y desde afuera. Y no había mucho margen ni mucha necesidad para arriesgar. Yo tenía a Robert Taylor para poder hacer otra vez 3 delanteros. No me parecía que tenía que romper la línea de 5, y mucho menos con el partido 2-1. Aún que nosotros no hubiéramos empatado el 2-1, creo que no era el premio que merecíamos, pero sí creo que era un resultado que nos dejaba muy, muy en carrera para el partido de vuelta. Y a mí me parecía también que la búsqueda del equipo, así como estaba, era correcta, era buena, no nos faltaba profundidad, éramos muy anchos con los 2 carrileros, teníamos gente de entrelínea, metíamos gente en el área. No es que digo esto porque finalmente empatamos, pero me daba la sensación de que no había, por un lado que no había que arriesgar, y por el otro lado que no estábamos declinando en la búsqueda.
Con eso concluimos la conferencia de prensa de anoche. Coach of NSC coming up.
Recording stopped.
Cristina, we're ready.
Recording in progress.
All right, we have head coach of Nashville SC. We'll start with questions in the room. Can you raise your hand if you want to get started?
Hey, Gary. Tough match right there towards the end, but I'm just curious about your take on, there were a lot of refereeing decisions that went on for both sides on all sorts of things, so I would just like to hear what you saw from the sideline.
Well, there were a couple of very, very important decisions. Certainly in terms of extending the lead for ourselves. The offside goal is obviously the first bone of contention. I've not seen it again, so I can't say, but I'm guessing that everyone in the room here has had a better view than I have and seen it more than once. All I would say is that I understood that the rules were, if there really wasn't any real clear and obvious error, then the decision on the field should stand. And what I'm hearing, without seeing it myself, is that there was no way of saying it was offside. The second one for me actually was earlier on in the game on Tyler. You know, a penalty call that, I couldn't quite understand why there was no second look. That VAR weren't asking the referee to go and have a look at his monitor. It looked, from where we were, that Tyler cleanly got the ball in front of the goalkeeper, who then pulled him down. So a couple of really, really big decisions in terms of, as I said, extending our lead. And I think maybe the other couple just to look at, I'm not saying that they were anything more than were given, but there were a couple of dubious off-the-ball incidents. I think there was one in front of us where Jacob was visibly stopped in his tracks. Like I say, I'm not suggesting that it was a sending off. I think maybe the clearest one of an elbow was earlier on in the game when Jacob got completely wiped out when he was in full stride. So, look, I can't say for sure because I haven't seen him again.
We'll go with Claudio next.
Gary, obviously, we saw a very good game, I think. There were some spectacular performances, in my opinion, from some of the guys in the group. Maybe you'd like to mention some of those for us. And at the same time, what went on that last goal right there? How much, obviously, there is always positive stuff from the other team to keep looking, but how much, in your opinion, was that part or maybe careless from Nashville to permit that score?
Yeah, look, let me take the first part of that question first. I think there were some huge positives out of the game. There were some huge performances in the game. The opportunities, chances and goal-scoring moments created outside of the goals that were scored. And, you know, it's easy to say that Jacob, you know, may well have come away with man of the match. His 2 goals were terrific. His second one on his weaker foot was exceptional. Fantastic to see Hani out there again. It's been a long while. And I think that lift, that inspiration that he gives the group, hugely helpful. The 2 centre-backs, I thought, did a wonderful job for the vast majority of the game. And maybe that leads on to what, you know, you were suggesting there for the final goal. Losing Walker in the middle of that back line is always a blow. It can take defenders, especially central defenders, a little bit more time to get into the game, the pace of the game. Again, I haven't seen the goal back, but I'm being told that there were a couple of players that got dragged into areas that they shouldn't have done. My first thought was that maybe Taylor should have been a little bit tighter to Ruiz out on the right-hand side. Look, nonetheless, we're in the closing moments of the game. I think the vast majority of the display tonight was very passionate. It was very cup-orientated. The guys threw everything at the game. We could have, and maybe should have, been in a better position than we were at 2-1. And there's always going to be those defining moments. And maybe we've seen them. The referee's given, or VAR have given an offside when we should have gone 3-1 up. And Luis Suarez scores in the 95th minute. Maybe they're defining moments in a tie, but we won't know, obviously, until next Wednesday. What I would say is, hell of a game. Very, very proud of the performance from the guys. We created an awful lot against an exceptional team. And I see no reason why we won't go to Miami in 5 days' time, 6 days' time, whatever it is, and put on a real show. There's still plenty of mileage in this tie. But we see firsthand again the exceptional qualities. It's a completely different level of intelligence from the likes of Lionel Messi, Busquets and Suarez. Completely different level. And for the most part, I thought the guys did a wonderful job.
We'll go with the gentleman in the front.
Yeah, Gary, you just touched on it some there, but is there something about playing Miami and everything that comes with this that brings out the best in your guys? It's a lot like the game in August. This was a real fight.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at the final, why wouldn't you be inspired? You know, first final that the team have here in front of a sellout crowd against, you know, the best player that's ever walked the planet. If that doesn't inspire you, then nothing will. And maybe we could say the same about tonight. You know, the crowd turns out, which they do, you know, on most occasions here anyway. But I think there's a slightly different edge and feel to the atmosphere when Lionel Messi's in town. You know, he is the show and an exceptional individual. It squeezes a little bit more, of course. It's not always easy to get to those heights. And, you know, on these one-off occasions in such a prestigious tournament, the guys, I think, have left everything out there. No two ways about it.
Real quick, let me. You spoke of atmosphere. I just want to correct the attendance tonight was 31,109 here at Kids Park tonight. 30,100. Sorry, I also got the wrong number again.
Hey, I'm good with 1,000 more.
Yeah.
Gary, I know you've talked a lot about Tyler just over the last couple of weeks, but tonight, I mean, playing it would look like as the 9 for a lot of the match. Just what did you make of his performance and what he was able to do? Isolated a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to try and get Hanny and Tyler together. Understandably so. It's been a little while since we saw those guys out in the Dominican. Any moments that I can get, I want them to keep building that bond, relationship, and connection. And it wasn't easy. I thought Miami did a really good job of stepping a little bit higher. Almost man for man on occasions. But within that, there's risk. And the risk was that we scored early on and we created 2 or 3 other really good moments that, in ties like this, where that Miami have got the quality to create. We've been given 4 or 5 moments tonight and scored 2. And on most occasions you say, okay, that's good enough. But it's not against these. You've got to turn that into 3, maybe even 4, because that they're more than capable of turning the screw. So, yes, there were plenty of moments where Tyler and Hanny got a little bit isolated. They squeezed the game and took control of the ball, which they do on a lot of occasions. And it became very much a counter-attacking game for us. But for the most part, that plays into the hands of the likes of Jacob and Hanny and Tyler in a slightly different way. So we've maybe not seen the sort of connection and quality that we know both of those guys are capable of. Sam still sits in the background waiting for that third piece of the puzzle to maybe offer a different dimension again. I thought both of the guys did a really good job tonight. Not easy against the back 3 good central defenders. I thought our 3 predominantly attacking players in Jacob, Hanny and Tyler did a wonderful job, and they've created some good moments tonight.
Over here to the left.
Gary, speaking on Jacob Schaffelberg's performance, the last 2 games, if my memory serves me correct, 5 points in the last 2 games, 3 goals and 2 assists. Can you touch a little bit more on Jacob? Is the confidence there? Has he finally gotten through that just brick wall of just like getting over the hump, I guess is the best way I'm trying to put it?
Well, we're looking at consistency now, right? What we know is that he has a tremendous amount of talent, and he's a frightening individual. Not scary, as you might see some players. They're physically scary. Jacob's a million miles from that, actually, but he's scary and frightening in the way that he attacks the game with his pace and his direct nature. And tonight we saw the very best of him. He was given space to run into, opportunity to run at players. He not only scored 2 goals and took them fantastically well, he also created 1 or 2 other really good moments. And, tonight he was certainly the pick of our attacking players. We're now looking for that push and, consistent level of play. And each game presents a different challenge. Tonight, they played a very high line. The early goal, I think, maybe played into that a little bit more. But when we find ourselves maybe in the ascendancy and higher up the field, then there's a different world that he's got to try and navigate. So, in the position that he's in at the moment, it's a great spot. I'm sure he's ultra confident. He's feeling top of the world, and long may that continue, because we might well need that again next Wednesday.
We'll conclude with the gentleman here in the front.
Gary, can you talk a little bit about their width? That when they were in possession, they were really wide. It caused Shaq and Lovitz a lot of problems. Was there any thought about changing structurally to combat that, or how do you kind of deal with that?
So they came here with three centre backs. Maybe that was a shift. I'll never know. Only Tata knows that. Maybe that was what he planned. But with Jordi Alba out, maybe he felt as though that was the best way of implementing his players. Once you play with wing backs, especially talented wing backs, and someone like Julian Gressel has played that role, I believe for Tata as well. They get high. They're very capable individually. I would say Julian Gressel's probably one of the best deliverers of a cross in the league. His distribution, his capabilities on the ball are obviously, very, very high calibre. But it was the wing backs that caused us the problem. Okay. The change is to put Alex as a right wing back and match him up. In doing so, I felt we would open up too many gaps and pockets for the likes of Lionel Messi and Busquets to get into those dangerous areas in between lines. Because now the game's very stretched from a touchline to touchline point of view. So I left the guys in positions that I felt they could be most confident, achieve the most at home going forward, and I don't think I was wrong in that aspect because we made some good opportunities. But you're absolutely right. In the end, the right wing back, I think it was Ruiz, started what was the dangerous and danger in that final moment. I think I mentioned over here somewhere, I felt as though Taylor should have got a tad tighter. He was on the field for not long, fresh, and maybe could have got a yard or two closer to the boy, who is by nature a central midfield player. He's not a wing back. That gave them some traction and dragged one or two players possibly out of areas that in the end were the difference. But I genuinely thought, for the most part, we did a wonderful job of condensing the central part of the field, making life difficult, absorbing some pressure, and I thought the start of both halves were electric. We were the better team for 15, 20 minutes of both halves, and they got into the game, took control of the ball, and finished both halves probably the stronger. So that's the tale of the tape, as they say. It's ended up on even terms. We'll feel aggrieved because we were 2-1 up and might well have been in a better position. I'm sure they feel great that they've scored 2 away goals, but I think the tide's on a knife edge. I think there's an opportunity here. We have some tools and some players that I don't think they like very much and affects them. Make no mistake, they have plenty too.
That concludes tonight's press conference. Coach, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.